everybody, I'm Lynn Boston. I am our Chief People Officer, and March is Women's History Month. So I've gathered together our awesome female vice presidents to join me in a conversation about Women's History Month. Further, March 8th is International Women's Day, and so we're going to talk a little bit about the importance of that as well. Come and join us.
I was reading about kind of the history of International Women's Day, and it's been around for 100 years, which I thought was a little bit surprising that, you know, we've been celebrating women in the workforce for that long. And it's also kind of sad because I feel like I haven't really heard that much about it. So I'm very excited to be here today and kind of talk about how important it is to celebrate not just the one day, but in our day-to-day lives.
The first time that I was introduced to International Women's Day was when I came here. The first year I was at Y12 and I got the email from Mark, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like, from the CEO, I emailed him, and I think his words were something to do with juggling your roles as a professional, juggling your roles as a mother, as a wife, and it just really hit home with me that an institution, an organization would go the extra mile to say thank you to the women in their workforce.
Right.
So,
Yeah, just to realize at the end of the day, we still have to go grocery shopping.
Yeah.
Or cook dinner,
Yeah.
or pick the kids up, or
So
We
I
have a
think
lot of
that's
other-
why Y12 celebrates it, is because it's that's the piece of that's specific to this credit union.
So what you all are saying says to me that credit unions are really leading the way when it comes to gender equality, right? Because if you look at other industries, you can't say that 50% of
No.
those businesses have
Oh,
female
absolutely.
executives,
No,
right?
absolutely.
I think also just kind of outside the credit union industry, it's really easy, I think, because things are a lot better, to forget that just over 100 years ago, women couldn't even vote. And there are so many rights that we have now that we take for granted. So I think International Women's Day is just a day to celebrate all those amazing women that came before us, that paved the way, that stood up and said, this isn't right, I'm going to do something about it. So
I think one of the things that I really like to hear is how do you encourage younger women to advance and to continue making those advances? How much has changed in 20 years? Therefore, how much can they change in the next 20 years?
That's a good point.
And that's, I mean, I've got two young daughters in their 20s, and that's what I have been trying to help them to see. This is where you are now, but this world is really different than it was 20 years ago for me. So how is it going to be 20 years from you? And you're going to help determine that.
I had a very strong female role model back early in my career. She was she was smart, she was kind, she wasn't afraid to tackle tough subjects. I mean, she held her people accountable, but she did it in a kind way. And I wanted to be her. And so I think that's what I would encourage younger females to find a good role model.
I was like Lynn, I had a really strong female role model in one of my first jobs here at Y12 Credit Union. And, you know, I still think about her often and think that she really influenced where I am today, because she just really taught me the kind of leader, a lot about leadership and about the kind of leader I would want to be. So I'm very fortunate to have her. I always said I learned more from her in just a few years than I ever learned in business school or anything like that, because it was real life experience. And she was exactly like you said. She was not afraid to speak up or stand up or have her voice heard, but she did it in a kind and respectful way, and she got things done. So it's great.
Historically, finance roles have been filled by men.
Very much so.
So how is it for you to be the vice president of finance as a female? What do you think helped you get to that point?
Excellent question. I think very similar to all of you ladies here, I had a mentor at one of my first jobs out of college. Not only was the company owned by a woman, the CFO was also a female. So just really getting underneath her for those first several years out of college and looking at those attributes that make a CFO so great. You know, attention to detail, but also tackling the difficult conversations with grace. I think is a big one. And I would love to see more females look into either a STEM type career, either in science or in math and finance, because it's very appreciative to see other ladies in these leadership type roles. It definitely makes being at the top a lot easier, because I know that I can come to each one of you and kind of ask for feedback or, solicit advice from each of you. And it's a lot easier coming to one of you than it might be to someone else.
So the role models I had were mostly men.
Yeah.
So I thought being successful were exhibiting the kind of traits and qualities that a man exhibited. And it wasn't me. It took a very long time to feel comfortable about the woman that I am, that they're really strong attributes: empathy, nurturing.
Right.
Those are the kind of things that I saw was kind of lacking. So when I had the opportunity to be in a leadership position, it was to not lead like it was to not lead like I saw. But I also think that men have come a long way, and I think it has a lot to say that they've supported that here at the credit union. They support strong women, and so I think you're right. It's important to kind of nurture the young women along to be that strong person, embrace the fact that they're women and they may handle situations differently than some men do, and that's fine. That's a good quality to have, and it goes a long way here.
Most of my mentors were men also in the years I've spent, especially at the beginning in the credit union industry. But I think one of the most important things I found out is how to find my voice and use that voice. And that's what I stress to my daughter, just to be sure that you need to speak up and know that what you are wanting to say is valuable, just to make sure that you use your voice. But those leaders that I had, those mentors that I had, did reiterate that to me, and that was good. It was important.
Yeah. My first career out of college was not in the financial industry. It was in healthcare, and I went straight into an administrative training program. So I was one of 9 in the regional area that I worked in, and I was one of only 2 women. And so my mentor was a man, and he was very kind. And he said to me on many occasions, you're going to have to find your voice. You're going to have to speak up and be the person in the room that is listened to, but also be kind. And I remember him to this day for that. We had many conversations about it. And so I think back and relate to that when I have situations in my job now that requires that kindness, requires that to be passed on to whoever you're dealing with, whether it's male or female.
Absolutely.
Because kindness doesn't equal weakness.
No.
Right.
It's completely different.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And oftentimes it's associated, right?
Yes.
And I think we as women can really push that, I want to use the word agenda of kindness, and be strong leaders who are also kind.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was interesting that you mentioned kindness, because I was talking to Laura, who is one of my younger managers. She's 25, and just asking her what kind of things are important to you. And that was one of the things that she said, is just having that role model that, encourages you, provides you with educational opportunities and opportunities in general, and who's kind. So I think kindness is important. I don't think it's a sign of weakness. I think kindness is a sign of
I agree.
strength.
Yeah.
We work with men all the time. We work in the business world at the executive level. Have any of you ever done anything to maybe help you fit in? And I use that term loosely, but kind of fit in with the guys.
I learned how to play golf because I didn't want to be left out off of the golf course. So I'm not very good, but I had to.
I did the
It
same
kind of
thing.
made the
I'm not good.
motivation. It
Yeah.
was like, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna show this. I'm gonna learn. And then I love it when I go out there and I'm like hitting off the ladies' tees.
That's funny. That
is
is
good.
probably the number one advice I give young women: learn how to play golf.
I always joke that I can never be the CEO because I don't know how to play golf.
I think
It's a requirement, right?
yeah, right. there are certain norms that occur that are gender based also. And so we as women being aware of that can move things forward. So like, I think you were brilliant to learn how to play golf, because that's just a realistic view of what you see, right? And what happens.
Obviously, women going higher in the ladder is a big deal, and we do need to encourage more women to do that. But I think we also need to recognize that not every woman wants to go that high.
Yeah.
Because they do have different priorities, and that is okay as well. And for those that either choose to not go any higher, or for those that for some reason can't, they still need to be recognized for everything that they do contribute to the credit union, because none of us would be in these positions if we didn't have them supporting us on the other side. And so I think it's International Women's Day. It's not necessarily International Women Leadership. We have to recognize the ones that we lead, but it is as a group that we support each other and that we bring each other up to whatever our definition of success is.
And we are predominantly a female organization.
Right.
So it's even more important for us.
Just to encourage any woman here to whatever desire they have. I mean, there are
Yeah.
some people that want that,
Yeah.
but if you are a mom, they say we can have it all. It's hard. It's not
very
easy,
hard.
but I think it's up to us to want to do better for those that are coming. I want it to be easier for the younger women coming up, right? So for me, it's encouraging young women to say, look, it's not an easy thing to do, but you can do it. And we support those things, because being a mother is an important job, and taking time to be home with your children when need be. And we want you to have that good balance, and to recognize that balance is important, because there was a time where that balance wasn't even.
I absolutely agree
Right.
with you.
Right.
Raising
It's-
children was difficult
Right,
because
it's
you didn't have that.
you didn't have the ability to even recognize
That flexibility was not there.
Right.
Yeah.
There aren't any great things that come from a pandemic, but one of the things we can say is the men have recognized the strain on the women, right? You have to be all of these things. You have commitments, and your day never ends. So I think we do a really good job here of encouraging all women.
We want a mindset of growth. There's enough to go around.
Exactly.
We don't have to be territorial. We can share the same sandbox, and everybody has enough. That's an abundance mentality where there is enough to go around, and we can feel confident in supporting each other and lifting each other up, and helping each other.
We accomplish so much more.
Oh,
So
yeah.
much more.
Supporting each other is so key.
Yeah.
Right? Lifting each other up. I have this saying, a true queen shouldn't be afraid of straightening another queen's crown.
Absolutely.
And so we have to support each other.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And that, I think this group of ladies at this table couldn't ask for a better group. I mean, you all are amazing and super talented and kind and have grace. So we are so lucky and so fortunate at Y12. I just want to thank you for being here and being part of this discussion, because it's an important discussion. 3 things I think really came out of this. It's important to be graceful and kind as a leader. It's important to all of us. Mentors are important, and role models, especially if you can see a female role model for a younger female entering the workplace, so they can have a picture that if she can do it, I can do it.
Mhm.
And I think that's what Women's History Month and International Women's Day is for us here at Y12.